Hey, this is Eran Stern, and I think I've set a new record, for this is the fifth and final part of our duplicate stuff inside After Effects, which goes by the name of more of the same thing. And in the last part, this is what we came up with. Let me just go back to full screen and just play the result for you. And it's looking gorgeous, though a bit surrealistic, I have to agree. But we've got ourselves a few bunch of duplicate techniques, which I've covered in the first four parts. The only thing that is missing from my eye is a bit of treatment to the background layer, which is the cityscape layer. I think that if you are in the duplication game inside After Effects, you should really get yourself really familiar with a great tool from Trapcode called Echo Space. Now this plugin is far more advanced than what I can cover here, but I will show you a few examples of how we can make the most of it. So what I want to do now is just identify the layer that I'm going to work with, which is the cityscape layer. While it's still selected, I will go under layer and choose to pre-compose it into its own comp. I will stay with the default name. Cityscape Comp 1 is a great title, and I will make sure the Open New Composition is checked, and I will choose OK. Now we are here inside this new comp with just one layer. What I want to do now is first select this layer and convert it into a 3D plane. Now let's go under Effect, and if you have it, choose Trapcode Echo Space. Now, as I said before, this effect is really sophisticated, and what it basically allows us to do is go under the setup and define how many instances we want from this layer. I will stick with the default value of 10, and let's choose repeat. Now what this effect will do is add a lot of cityscape layers, which are basically a duplicate version of the one you already had. Another point worth mentioning is that all those duplicate layers, and you see we've got a couple of them with a few null objects, and all of those new additions will also be a shied layer, meaning the shy icon is switched on for them. So if you don't want to see those instances, because we will be able to work with them from the Echo Space menu, but if you don't want to see them, just press the shy icon here and you will be left with the first layer with another parent. Anyway, let's open the repeater here and see what we can do with it. Basically what this effect does is place an expression on each one of our instances. So by changing the repeater values, we've got ourselves a very unique and sophisticated duplication system. Because I already convert this cityspace layer into 3D layer, we can see that the instances are just behind it, and this feature alone will give you some kind of an extrusion feel to it. But I want to change it a little bit by modifying few of these parameters. So for instance, let's change the Y offset to a different value, maybe 6. So you can easily see all the other instances are duplicating behind the layer and offsetting 6 pixels downward. You can also change the Z offset if you like. So this will basically send those instances back into the Z space, and this is due to the reason that we choose to convert it to a 3D layer. Now I want to change a couple of the interesting stuff here, which are the random values for every one of our X, Y, and Z offsets, and I will just start to play with it. So by changing the X offset to a value around, let's say 250, we can see that we can generate an X offset by random values with the numbers that we plugged in. So we can also do it for the Y offset and for the Z offset as well, just for laughs. So let's say that for the Y offset we will stick with the value of 40, and with the Z offset let's change it a little bit more to maybe a higher number, such as maybe 300 or 300 and some. Also, you can control the opacity of these instances. So by changing this value, you can lower the opacity of some of your instances. And I will say something maybe around -9 will add a nice atmospheric look to our cityscape. And for our purposes, we are done here. But we only scratched the surface of this wonderful and pretty advanced plugin. If you work with a video file, you can also add a layer delay in seconds, which will play your duplicate a little bit further in time or maybe later in time, like we did with the clone options. Also, another important point worth mentioning is that we are working here in a 3-dimensional environment. So although we don't have a camera in our scene, I can demonstrate it to you by switching to Custom View 1, for example, and taking the camera orbit tool and just rotate around our scene, and you can see how wonderful this cityscape look in a 3-dimensional grid. Okay, so I will leave you with this in order to continue to investigate it. But at this point of time, we will close this Cityscape Comp 1 and come back into our main comp and just make sure that we will take this all City Comp 1 and changing its Y-axis to a lower number so we can see more of our wonderful cityscape. And you can also turn this layer into 3D. And if you need, you can of course collapse this layer transformation, so you will be able to control it even further inside this comp. But I will call this one OK, and I will close this layer, hover on top of the composition, and press the tilde key to get a full frame RAM preview of the final result of this long 5-episode series, more of the same thing. So I think that I lay all the foundation you need in order to build a more complex scenarios using these wonderful repeaters tools of After Effects. I hope that in your next project you won't work so hard. Be sure to let After Effects do all the hard work and the duplications for you. Until next time we'll meet, this is all the instances of Eran Stern for CreativeCow.net saying Shalom, goodbye, my salame, adios, ciao, sayonara, להתראות.